The Real Estate Revolution radio show is designed to educate Missoula homeowners and home buyers how to navigate the uncharted waters of the current Western Montana real estate market in an educational, often edgy, and high-energy fashion with host Jason Baker. Jason will teach you all the secrets on how to win with real estate, from listing your property to purchasing investments. Jason has you covered. Be sure to check the home of the week, the good news, and current market updates each week. Jason is revolutionizing the real estate experience for over 100 clients a year.
Welcome to Real Estate Revolution Radio with Jason Baker. Jason, happy Sunday to you, my friend.
What are you doing, man? How was your week?
I'm just, I'm holding it down, I guess. Trying not to freeze.
Trying not to freeze.
Yeah, it's chilly out there.
It is chilly out there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
it's winter,
just remember, you're going to have a warm day and you're going to think it's close.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be 4 more months.
I'll be daydreaming about days like today in July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was sitting on the river a couple weeks ago. It was 55 degrees over by Billings. And I got to tell you, that felt pretty good. I didn't even know what that thing was, that shiny thing.
It was grass skirt and coconut bra weather.
Right,
that's what it was.
That's exactly right. Well, want to get in a quick market update here. It is a real estate show, and today we have a good friend of mine, Dell. He's an attorney, and we're going to be in town, and he's going to tell you a little bit about his business today and how to get in touch with him, but we're going to be talking about probate, so do not turn off the radio if you know it's good for you. But what's going on in Missoula and Ravalli County is we're seeing, interest rates, KC, have come down to, low sixes, and they were, 7.5 a month and a half ago.
They're not blowing through the ceiling.
Yeah, so we're seeing a little bit of a little uptick, and people are like, well, it's because it's spring. No, it's not. That doesn't matter. If someone lives in Montana, they don't care about snow.
Right.
It doesn't have anything to do with the sales cycle, and so many people think it does, but it doesn't. It has to do with inventory. We're at the lowest inventory level that we will be at ever, for a long time right now. So although it's 4 times what it was 6 or 7 months ago, we're hovering just over 200 in Missoula County for inventory level.
Is that because of the expirations?
Yeah, there was a lot of expired. So there was more. There was up to 265 a month or two ago, and a lot of them expired. In other words, the prices were too high and they didn't sell.
Yeah.
So, but right now, what I'm stressing, both in, anywhere in Montana right now, this is the lowest we're going to have for inventory. So if someone's waiting till spring, I believe there's going to be 300 to 400 homes for sale in Missoula County, and probably 300 to 325 in Ravalli County. We haven't seen those numbers since pre-COVID there. Not exactly sure why I just choked, but who cares? I powered through, and it was a little more manly than that, Casey.
He's a professional.
It was a little more manly than that, buddy. Jeez. But I cannot stress enough how important I believe we're going to see homes come into the market sooner now, because people are hearing that prices are going down. And I think they're going to come on sooner because they want to get in ahead of that. So the smart play, if you're thinking about it, is to do that. Now, as far as buyers are concerned, listen, these rates are the lowest they're going to be. My business partner, I say this every week, is still betting the farm. Hopefully not mine, but he's betting the farm on that interest rates go to 7.5 or 8%. So I'll be interesting to see. He just was at his board meeting there with Goldman Sachs. So I'll be interested to see what their latest is, and I'll probably find that out tomorrow or this weekend. He's at a car show now. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Or this coming weekend, yeah. So I'll find out this week. So anyways, for sellers, you got to get on. And then for buyers, listen, do something before the rates go up. Ask for a rate buy down. That's a really smart thing right now. You can get a point or two lower on your interest rate. You can ask them for a discount now. There's a lot of things sellers are willing to do, those that have to sell. But there is some lingering, people that haven't heard that the market's actually starting to go down, level and go down, they haven't heard that yet. So there are some sellers that still have, pie in the sky thinking. So yeah, that's just a quick market update right there.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you think there's ever going to be like a ceiling to this? Like, is it going to?
I think right now we're talking more about a floor. Yeah, I do. I think overall, we retract 20% from where we were at a peak. And, there are some people who say our peak was April of 2022. There are those that say it was July of 2022. We cannot expect to see a full year of data of the leveling and decreasing prices it's a little deceptive still right now because we don't have a full year, obviously, of 2023, and we don't have a full year since prices started to go down, right? And so until we do, we're still living off a little bit of the averages of where it was going cuckoo. And really, I believe the most cuckoo it ever was February and March, basically 1 year ago.
When we started the show. Yeah.
Exactly when we started the show. It was cuckoo. It was like 25 or 30 offers,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. So, but anyway.
Well, I'm talking about rate, though. Is the rate ever going to be able to slow down this constant?
I think it's going to go up for a year or two. I think that we're just going to have to cycle through this inflation. I think the Fed's going to raise rates a couple more times, if not 100 more times. And, it may not matter if we get into a nuclear war.
Yeah. So, that's one way to bring the rate down.
That's exactly right. And which leads us to the next part of our segment.
Yeah, let's introduce Dell.
Yeah, probate, nuclear probate, everything kind of goes in, kind of flows into the other. But Dell, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business? And I, just as a preface, Dell is my personal attorney and my friend, and I'm just so honored to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jason.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be with you guys.
Yeah.
So, Dell Post in Lebsock. Been an attorney here in town for 16, coming on 17 years. I practice, our office is downtown. I practice with my law partner, Brian Lebsock.
Yeah, nice guy.
Yeah. So, we do quite a bit of different stuff. I won't say full service.
Yeah.
But we do a fair amount of real estate, business transactions. My business partner does divorce and a little bit of criminal defense as well.
Maybe we should talk about tips on not getting divorced today. Because I need all sorts of those.
I don't have anything to offer.
Especially after your boat incident.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, my boat incident. Where my boat was on the Bighorn River and almost stayed there forever. Yeah, that's right. Here's one way to get divorced.
You might need a divorce attorney.
Sweetheart, we're going to need a new boat motor, even though I just bought a new boat motor. There's a good conversation. We need some objection handlers there. Yeah,
but so make sure you got them on retainer right now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I know. I think I just mail them a retainer every year because at some point in time,
I wouldn't want to represent you. I represent Sarah, but not you, Jason.
There's no doubt about it. I am a little difficult. There's no doubt. Yeah. Yeah,
small doses.
We keep Sarah heavily medicated. She stays with me that way. So, but anyways, well, listen. So we've been running into a lot of, and I know that I've been sending you some clients with probates, and one of the things that we like to do on the show is to just educate the public of some pitfalls, some things they can run into, and just educate them. So when the time comes, and it does for most of us at some point, unfortunately, we kind of know what to do in a probate situation. And so I wrote down some questions, and I don't know if these are terrible questions. And so if we need to take this a different way, Del, just say that's a really stupid question. Let's move on to the next one.
Be honest with them.
Yeah, I like the brutal honesty part.
Don't hold back.
All right. Anybody that's been listening to this show for a while knows that there's a little bit of brutal honesty
Jason has
going
a pretty
on.
Stupid question. Let's move on to the next one.
I'm super politically correct, but when or why does someone enter into probate, or just kind of like a synopsis on that whole situation, or who would, who wouldn't, etc.
Yeah, you bet. Good question. I mean, first thing I want to say is I run into a lot of people who are terrified of probate.
Yeah.
Terrified of it. And I don't think there's much to be terrified about.
Right.
What's the big...
I've seen people, I think there's a market push. You turn on the radio, you watch the news. There's people that want to sell you estate plans, and so the way they do that, they scare you into thinking that probate is just some big bad thing where you're going to lose all your assets. Someone else is going to be taking care of your kids that you don't know. And Billy Bob from your great aunt's nephew is going to come and take all your property.
Your second cousin twice removed.
He can have everything but the duck decoys.
Yeah,
that's right.
And so I guess one thing I want to start out with is just to let people know that it is not a scary place to be. I mean, a probate is in Montana especially. I mean, you can get through a plain Jane vanilla probate, $2,500, $3,000.
Yeah.
It takes. You can open a probate, do it informally.
Yeah.
You can begin to transfer assets as directed by the will or the laws of the state if there is no will, and be done in 6 months.
Oh, wow. That's kind of a bargain.
Yeah. So if someone passes away, what is the necessity for, or what is the reason why one would? Is it something they have to opt to do? Is it something that's forced on them, or?
So the most common thing that pushes people into probate is when someone passes away and they own real estate.
Okay.
And that real estate hasn't been placed already into a trust.
Yes.
Or has not been deeded by a beneficiary deed to the heirs of the person who passed away. That is 95% of the time when I'm doing probate, it's because they died with real estate in their name. Now,
right.
if the person who passed away owns the real estate as a joint tenant with right of survivorship, and usually that's how marital couples own the real estate, then you don't need to do a probate when the first spouse passes away. But when the second spouse passes away, then that's what usually triggers the need for a probate.
It's funny you bring this up. I just had this conversation with my folks while I was visiting this weekend.
Yeah.
And Mom was giving me the whole, when it's our time, you and your brother are going to have to decide who's taking the
that's right.
Who's selling the house.
Did you just say that you'd take it?
She said, you guys are going to end up pretty well, blah 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 blah. But I don't think they have any of that stuff in place. I really do think, knowing my mom, she wants us to fight over things.
I have an opposite story to that. So like last night, I love my brothers, right? And I don't ever want that to not be the case. So last night I told my mom specifically, if I'm on any will, I want to be completely removed. And that may be stupid, but the fact is that I don't ever want to have. She went through some hard stuff with her when they were doing her mom's estate, and she was the executor and everything else. And man, it was a nightmare. She hasn't talked to some of her siblings since. I don't ever want that to happen. They're welcome to it. Yeah. Especially that little noisy frickin' puppy she has. They can just have it. Oreo. But I don't want any of it. I know that sounds really weird, but I literally don't want one.
That way you don't have to sit around afterwards. We still have these arguments during Christmas every year. Mom loves you best.
I just let my brothers win there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Then I don't have to go over and play dominoes. Just kidding. So
do you think in my case then, if they don't put anything in order before that time comes, then I'll be dealing with a probate?
Yeah, then the law kicks in, and there's some default rules. If there's no will, there's statutes in place that give priority to people who want to be appointed as the personal representative.
Yeah.
And so you or your brother, you would both have equal priority, and there could be a fight about that. Yeah. So while probate,
I'd win.
Celebrity death
arm
match.
arm wrestling, or paper rock scissors. Let's do it.
Who's got the coolest beard?
That's right. Yeah, who shoots better? Yeah. So what I hear you saying, Del, is it sounds to me like it's really important to. Sometimes things just happen, and they happen, and you don't know, that it's going to happen, and it just comes as a shock, and you're kind of having to pick up the pieces. So a couple things I heard you say. Number one, don't be scared of the process. We referred to our client, David. Obviously, we're not going to say last names and everything like that. And I can't tell you, he was trying to start to this process. I mean, is it a process where it's probably kind of like a FSBO? Is it something that they could go try to do on their own, and then it just turns into a nightmare? Or how does that?
No, good question. I think it'd be tough to do if you weren't an attorney.
Right.
To basically shepherd your estate through probate is not easy to do if you're not a lawyer. But what I mean by easy is it's not like, in Montana anyway. So I've heard people say the state's going to take your money.
Yeah.
Right. If you die without a will.
Yeah.
If you have to go through probate.
Or the estate tax.
The estate tax. I mean, here's the issue. Right now, the estate tax exemption is $12.5 million roughly.
Right.
Okay, you can die with $12.5 million in net worth and not pay any estate tax. If you're married, it's double that. Okay. And so I see people.
I ain't never going to have that problem.
Yeah. Most people do not have.
Doing a wealth series, damn it.
Right. So most people do not need a real fancy estate plan to avoid estate tax, because guess what? Most people aren't going to have $25 million in assets when they die. And so I see people coming to my office with, a paper, 4 inches thick of an estate plan that some lawyer drew up for them, or some company that they paid $10,000 to drew up for them, that they don't need and they don't understand it. And so I think that the best way to prepare is to just have, meet with an attorney.
Yep.
Most people need a simple will.
Yeah.
And you take care of most of these issues that we're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just like an ounce of prevention. And like if someone's going to come in and just wants to do a very simple will, I mean, I can't imagine that costs a ton of money to do.
It doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, and think about all the money it could actually cost down the road, either for your heirs or people that have to deal with it,
or just legal
stress,
issues
or,
in general.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, and I believe in that so much. I actually don't have a will, so I'm gonna come see you there, buddy. I'll have Sarah come see you since you've already said you won't represent.
You have
me,
a
so
will.
That's fine. Yeah.
You have a will. Me and Sarah took care of it.
Oh,
for
they
you.
did. Yeah, that's exactly right. In the event that Sarah shoots him, she gets everything.
Everything.
That's right. I know. That $25 million could quickly go down to a lot less than that. Pending a divorce before the probate death. So, but okay. So don't be scared about it. And I mean, it's like there's probably so many steps that you just know because it's just like waking up and just another day for you. And someone's got to go figure all these things out. One wrong misstep could I can't even imagine what that would do.
Yeah,
I mean, it could just take forever and just be a nightmare, stressful, everything else.
Yeah, it's a process that's really driven by forms.
Yeah,
and that's why it's not every probate's a little bit different, but most of us lawyers use a set of forms that are very similar.
Yeah. That
have been tried and true. All the judges have seen them.
Right.
And so we evaluate the case, we find out what issues there are, and we just shepherd the estate through probate. And most probates are wrapped up within a few months, and then they have to wait by statute 6 months before you can close it.
Okay.
But it's not, like in our mutual friend that you referred to me.
Yep.
Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. There weren't any bombshells that went off.
No, Dell just goes,
and
all
there
right.
wasn't even a will in that case.
No, there wasn't. Yeah, and it was crazy because one of them had passed away, and I loved them both. I mean, I used to go over there, we used to pray together, and oh man, I just loved them. And one of them passed away, and it was a shock to her, and then she passed away, and it was a shock to her family. Her family called me, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? I can't believe it. And then just the cool thing about that whole thing was just how cool all of their family always was, you know what I mean? They kind of adopted me in some way, it was cool. So, but I was just so blessed to be able to help them through that. And, but David found that it was such a smooth process, but he actually was super stressed out about it at first. He didn't know what to do. I said, please just call Dell. And immediately he's like, we got this.
Yeah.
Which was great. And it was super reasonable. And he said it was worth every penny. So,
Peace of mind, even.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. No, he gave you definitely a glowing recommendation after I paid him $100. Just kidding.
But I think most people, though, like me growing up, I didn't know lawyers.
Yeah.
I didn't have any friends that were lawyers. My parents weren't lawyers. I grew up, my dad was a farmer.
Yeah.
My mom was a school teacher.
Yeah.
And so we grow up and we develop these notions of, probate bad, lawyers expensive, and some of that's true in some situations, but for the most part, I mean, if you find someone who's pretty reasonable as a lawyer, they can walk you through it, and they're not going to charge you an arm and leg, and that's what I try to do.
And talking about the wills and all this stuff, I mean, if you get your ducks in a row, that could be super cheap to do that. And it could make the whole process later on down the road just even cheaper, less hours and things like that. So, just, ounce of prevention,
Some basic things, too. Like, I feel like, like me, I have young kids. You have young kids.
Yeah.
You have a young kid, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think...
With one less tooth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, people that are raising families, I mean, they need a basic will. If they're in the middle of their careers, they don't have millions and millions of dollars and they're just raising their family. They need a basic will that establishes who's going to take care of the kids when they pass.
Yeah.
And who's going to take care of the money for their kids when they pass.
Yeah.
Those two things, I mean, I can do that on a 5-page will.
Or you could write that on a napkin, couldn't you?
You could.
If the
recommend it.
If the ink is still, it might be a fake will if the ink hasn't dried yet and it's on a napkin. It says Alan Vixer or something like that. That's right. That's right. So as far as what are some what does the flow of assets look like? Let's just say there wasn't a will and it wasn't joint tenants with right of survivorship, which is actually the most common thing that we put on a buy sell. Is that, and that's the most common way it's recorded is in that way, and now we know why. It just cuts down on some red tape later. But let's say there wasn't there, and someone passed away. Who would get what and when?
So if someone passes away, they hold real estate. then what happens is there's an appointment document filed with the court in the county where they passed away or where they were domiciled at the time of their passing.
Sure.
And that initial document gets filed, and within a few days, usually the court will appoint somebody to act on behalf of the estate.
Okay.
So then at that moment forward, the person who has authority to transfer the property, the person who has legal ownership of the property, is the personal representative who's been appointed by the court. And then at that point, a lot of different things can happen. The personal representative maybe the will says that that it gets distributed equally to the person's children. So then the personal representative can simply, with the help of an attorney, create a deed and deed the property to the kids. Boom, done.
Yeah, then done.
Maybe the will says that they want the property sold and the proceeds split.
Right.
So then the PR immediately contacts a realtor, and then the property gets listed. As soon as it gets sold, boom, the money gets distributed to the heirs.
Is the personal representative? How do they pick that person? It seems to me, in the amount of these that I do, that it's not always the heir.
Yeah, good question. So there's the statute. It talks about the priority of the person for appointment.
Yeah,
and my memory's not exact on this, but the first person with priority is the spouse of the person who passed away. The next people with priority is going to be the children.
Okay.
And then within that same priority are people who have been appointed in a will.
Okay.
So what usually happens is someone has some kind of a will that nominates the personal representative.
Okay.
And then we take the will, we see the nomination, we give it to the judge, and we ask that person be appointed. That's usually how it happens.
And that's really again, the importance of the will, because doing that part is, I think I think a lot of fights are caused by just people not knowing exactly what's going to go on or what to expect. It seems like, or just a terrible communication, and, it's just, I think I'm literally probably going to be knocking on your door tomorrow unless you get the day off. Because it's like, do as I say, not as I do. Right, how do I not have one of these things? Well, the number one reason is I don't even want to think about that, man.
Yeah,
I want to think about life and being happy.
It's too macabre.
Too macabre. Yeah, that's exactly right. I know. Meanwhile, I shoot things all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you pass away and you have decent amount of money, then your nephew comes out of the woodwork and says, "Well, I want to take care of your kids, Jason.
We were best friends.
Can you take care of your kids for you? We'll take them to Disneyland on a cruise."
I know. I'm like, thankfully, no one's ever knocked on my door and said, "Dad." Terrible bad joke.
Yeah, that's why you have a will to nominate who's supposed to be serving in that role.
Okay.
What are some of the, we've touched on some of them, but what are some of the common mistakes that families make? I mean, obviously not having a will, but what are some of the things maybe I should ask that they should look out for, or not certain mistakes they should not make, or how could they nip some of this in the bud?
Well, that's a good question. One of the things I see a lot is people assume that if they have a power of attorney and say they've made their kid a power of attorney, and then they think in their mind, well, if I pass away, my power of attorney can take care of all this stuff. Well, guess what?
Nope.
What happens when you pass away? The power of attorney is automatically revoked by operation of law.
Nobody would ever think that.
Yeah.
And
I see it all the time.
Yeah, so
you figure you already got him as power of attorney, they just carry the torch.
You're going to be a power of. So in other words, the person you're having power of attorney over, they got to be living, have a pulse.
That's exactly right.
Still got to be fogging the mirror,
What a revelation. Huh. Yeah, a Democrat voter.
Fogging the mirror.
That's exactly right. We're going to make sure they do that. Yeah, put a little thumbprint on it, little ID. Yeah. Sorry.
Here we go. Here we go, Jason.
No, okay, I'm sorry.
Let's go down that rabbit hole.
Be quiet.
Wow.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was like, what I got myself into?
It escalates quickly in the show.
I'm definitely going to be over his office tomorrow. Yeah. So, Del, I got this call. Oh man, what do you wondering anything that I haven't asked here? So we already went over how the personal representative was chosen. That was my big thing. I'm like, how do they choose that? This was like B32, like pick someone out of like a little like lottery or what?
No, they usually do it at Thanksgiving during the wishbone competition. That's how you decide.
Yeah, the wishbone. So the average amount of time it takes. So the simple one we kind of went over was just where it's, there's a will, they've chosen the person. So just an easy one. I know you can't get into specifics, but what's like a really complex one?
So, a couple years ago, I had one where the gentleman was at St. Pat's Hospital on his deathbed, pulled out a yellow sheet of paper like the one I have in front of me now, and literally wrote his will.
Oh, my gosh.
In his own handwriting, signed it. That's called a holographic will.
Holographic will.
Those are your witness and everything there when you
no
sign
witnesses
that kind of
stuff. but because
looked like the daughter's handwriting.
Because it was in his own handwriting. The court, I gave it to the judge and we had a hearing about it, and the judge said, "Hey, this is a valid will."
Yeah, close enough.
What was crazy about the will is, he was lucid. There wasn't a question about his mental capacity, so he had what we call testamentary capacity to make a will.
Right.
But he was feeling very generous because what he did was any nonprofit that he had ever dealt with, he named them.
Really?
And he gave him a percentage of his will. And so this gentleman had, he had several $1 million in real estate, and it had to be sold. And we had to, I think there was something like 15 nonprofits that I had to track down.
Oh my gosh.
And it was a little bit of we got it done, but it took about 1.5 years.
Holy cow.
And thankfully he had a wonderful personal representative that he nominated that was just great.
Yeah.
But things like that, don't wait until
you're on your
deathbed.
Yeah.
And if you're a child of a parent who's, aging, try to get them to start thinking about these things. It's a hard conversation to have, but you don't want, like in this case that I'm talking about, a lot of money went to places that, I think could have been, more wisely used by the children.
Yeah, right. I don't, that'd be kind of weird. Like, Dad?
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I'm right here. You know what I mean? Like, give it to that thing.
You get just a sliver of this pie.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That'd be funny. Of course, then I'm like, I'm trying to give it away. That's crazy. So the simple ones, so if the family is like they want to start the process, what is it that they should do? So how do they get in touch with you if they want to? What is that like? If they just want to call and ask questions, is that cool does it? Yeah.
So absolutely. We talk with people on the phone. There's no charge for that. If we identify that there's a need, what I usually like to do is set up an initial meeting where I have the person come in and we just go over everything.
Yeah.
We some estates I don't do. Some states, if there's multiple business interests and there's tens of millions of dollars involved, I associate with, CPAs and other people that do them. But, I identify, hey, is this something I can do? And we talk about it and we get a plan. And, one thing I ask is that they come with some things in mind, like how they want their estate plan to go and what assets they have. But it's not as difficult as you think. And, on most wills for regular people, you're talking, probably $2,000 to get a complete estate plan done. It's a lot of money, but it's not life-changing money.
It's not when it comes to, the amount of assets and equity that people have in their houses and everything like that. It's something that, we've on our website at jasonbakerteam.com/probate, we get so many calls on where this is happening, and it's, so much so I went out there and tried to learn all I can. And thank you for all the help, today, Del, and everything else, and just, getting it out there in layman's terms, which is how I need everything.
Everything explained to you.
Yeah. But on our website is jasonbakerteam.com/probate, just for some, just some general stuff that we've come up with over the years with the help of, some local people and everything. And we just, we're just so honored to be able to, I know you are too, to be able, to do that, help people at the, sometimes the worst time of their life. But
so if people want to get a hold of me, it's 926-3416 here in Missoula, and our website's www.postlebsock.com.
Postlebsock.com.
What was that number again? Spell that out again.
POST-LEBSOCK.
Got it.
.com. And we're going to post that on the on-demand thing too.
The podcast?
Yep. There, I'll post it on my website under the probate thing because you are who I would recommend.
Cool. Thank you.
In every single sense of the word. What I know about Del is if he can't do it, He's not going to pretend, and he's not going to fearmonger, and he's just going to take care of you because that's the character of the man for sure.
I appreciate that.
No, it's just always how it is.
One more time with the phone number before we wrap it up.
406-926-3416.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Jason, if someone wants to chat with you about, just about anything, duck boats,
I got a profile on farmersonly.com. No, just kidding. Just kidding, Sarah. I really don't. But I would qualify now. Before I wouldn't. Yeah. But anyway, so my phone number is the same as it's always been. It's 552-4443. Guess you got to dial 406 now, and or just Google us, jasonbakerteam.com. And if you want to go to the part on our website, jasonbakerteam.com/probate.
All right, there you go. If you missed any of this show or any of our previous shows, you can always find them on demand at newstalkkgvo.com. Del, thanks for stopping in. Jason, until next week.
Yeah, man, can't wait.
Thank you guys.